all know, most truth seekers know this, that the Republic of the United States was turned into a corporation in 1871. And the United States Corporation actually was ultimately owned by the Vatican. And because of that, that gives you just a little background to let you know why the Vatican, or the Pope from the Vatican, had the authority to write this letter. This letter came out, I want to say July 4th, 2014, and it was sent to President Obama at that time. It confirmed that the United States was operating under a corporation. And as I had told you all before, that corporation was actually registered in Delaware as a nonprofit religious organization. And it was actually filed with the Secretary of State, but has since been bankrupted and defunct. So this letter confirms that General Carter Ham will be heading the new republic whenever the republic is announced, and that this announcement should come along with the NESARA announcement. As you all know, on this channel, we've been waiting for an emergency broadcast announcement of some sort that to come on and let us know about this war against the deep state that has been occurring behind the scenes. And you all have heard of Derek Johnson, who is our former military serviceman, who has been all over social media telling us that there has been a covert operation going on where the military has been taking down the deep state. So you all know I've been reporting this for years, and I've been promising you that I did have this letter, that I found a letter that they call Motu Proprio that came from from Pope Francis, sent to then President Obama, July 4th, 2014. Now, I first learned about this letter from the Grand Sheikh of the Moors, Taj Tariq Bey, so I give reverence and honor to the Grand Sheikh for presenting this to us. You can find him and Dr. G, his very good friend, at the YouTube website called I think it's called Awakening Minds. I think that's it, but I will put that in the comment section as well, and I will come back on to let you know what the name of that channel is. But let's get into this letter. This letter was sent by, again, Pope Francis. So it says, Civil Orders, July 4th, 2014, issued to all members of the Domestic Police Forces, U.S. Marshals Service, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the Armed American Forces. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America Major, exercising plenary civil power upon the land hereby appointed, General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and with their full support. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, the Internal Revenue Services, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owed to the United States of America Major, stationed in North America, and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged as stipulated prior. All effort shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the states of the Union without exception. The GAR, or Grand Army of the Republic, is uniquely enabled by these orders to operate on the land of the 50 organic states for the purposes of securing the lives and property of the American states and the American state citizens. The GAR is not a foreign army and is composed primarily of American state citizens. If required to take field position, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on American state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and a widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. All parties must be brought to understand the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority, and their obligation to act in favor of the organic states of the Union. The Grand Army of the Republic shall continue to operate under General Order 100, known as the Lieber Code, extant from the pen of the last Republic President, Abraham Lincoln. No orders, executive or otherwise, issued by Barack H. Obama pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as, quote, President, end quote, of the United States, all capital letters, corporation, nor as the President of the United States of America minor, are owed any performance by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Ham, or any ordinary. All plainly stated grants of contractual authority evident in the Constitution for the United States of America remain in place, subject to good faith performance of the accompanying obligations and treaties. Mr. Obama is the president of a governmental service corporation under contract to provide stipulated services to the organic states and is on their payroll. He otherwise acts as a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. In neither of these capacities is he allowed any granted authority to impose upon American state citizens, endanger American state property, or command mercenary forces on American state soil, however veiled as federal civilian services agencies. We require the Joint Chiefs of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agency personnel and to seize control of the vast stockpiles of arms which have been improperly amassed by the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and other agencies employed by the all capital letters United States. The only federal agency allowed free egress on the land of the American states is the United States Marshal Service, and then only when their personnel are engaged in their duty to protect the United States mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. All other federal agency personnel are limited to unarmed service until further notice. We direct the Joint Chiefs of Staff to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to Mr. Obama, the members of the U.S. Congress, the administrators of all federal agencies, the members of the United States Supreme Court, and those acting as governors to compel their rapid understanding and cooperation. Any expense or damage incurred by these organic states or any American state citizen as a result of action undertaken by any federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenaries on American state soil will be understood as the result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land and will incur immediate judgment, liquidating the assets of International Monetary Fund, known as the IMF, and the Federal Reserve, all capital letters, in payment of the stipulated reparations. Such crimes shall also be considered contract default, increasing the public debt subject to bounty. Any and all corporate officers of the United States or any successor organizations inheriting federal service contracts who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest and prosecution for commercial and violent crimes. All foreign officials operating as elected or appointed officials of the United States of America minor who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest, confiscation of their assets, and deportation to Puerto Rico, Guam, or such other states as may be willing to receive them. Keep in mind, you all, that President 45 had written executive orders that, if you remember, reflect these papers or this letter from the Pope. Let's go on. Such foreign officials include members of the American and British bar associations who were licensed to act as privateers against the interests of the American states and the American state citizens from 1845 to 2013 in flagrant breach of trust. All such licenses are now extinguished. Remember, I told you the Pope said that everybody with a British Bar Association license was supposed to step down and cease and desist. Listen to what he says. All such licenses are now extinguished. Members of the Bar Association are required to cease and desist assaults against the American states and American state citizens and shall be subject to arrest, confiscation, and deportation otherwise. Stay with me, family. I'm almost done. Insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America Incorporated and the United States, all capital letters, have contrived under conditions of fraud and semantic deceit to revenue the estates of the American states and living American state citizens to the foreign jurisdiction of the United States of America minor, they are found guilty of capital crimes, including acts of fraud and treason committed between 1933 and 1945, and are condemned posthumously. Insomuch as elected officials operating the United States of America minor have similarly committed war crimes against the American states and their peaceful inhabitants during the same period, they stand condemned posthumously. No enforcement upon any American state or any American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of any Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor, nor as the board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. All these estates and estates in capital letters erroneously believed to represent the American states and the American state citizens, and which were conveyed by fraud and legal deceit to the United States of America minor, and more recently to the city-states of the United Nations are revenued without exception to the geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity as assets belonging to the rightful and unlawful beneficiaries. All legal fiction entities, however structured and named after the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them and their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by the officers of the United States of America Incorporated and the United States, all capital letters, Incorporated, or by any foreign officials operating the United States of America Minor or the United States city-state falsely claiming to represent them or having jurisdiction over them. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels, backing the United States government debt in the wake of the Civil War. So for all the people who say that the United States citizens known, or the indigenous people known or classified as Black Americans or African Americans, were not considered slaves and did not back the debt of the government. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt's commentary. Listen to what the Pope said, and I only have one more paragraph to read, and then I need to wrap up and go. Listen one more time at what he said. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels or chattel slaves, backing U.S. government, quote unquote, debt in the wake of the Civil War. Here's the last paragraph. Despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery, it has been the policy of the U.S. government to enslave its citizens. That's all of us, everybody in America, both African American and otherwise, and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world. Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to the outrageous and improper claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this circumstance in favor of the people. Now, friends, family, foes, hustlers, ear hustlers, listeners, and any otherwise people who are listening today, I have read to you a letter that the Pope Francis wrote July 4th, 2014, and sent to the president then of the United States Incorporated, who was at the time President Barack Obama. In summary, the letter states that President Barack Obama was the president of a foreign entity, which was Washington, D.C., or the United States of America Incorporated, that was incorporated in 1871. According to this letter, he is not or was not the president of the Republic, and neither were any of the presidents before him. Now, as you all know, when President 45, Donald J. Trump came along, he told us that he was in a war against the media and against the United States Incorporated, and that it was his job to take down the deep state, the mainstream media, the United States Corporation, the Federal Reserve banking system, and the three-letter organizations along with it. Now, we knew that that the military was engaged in a covert military operation and that he was in charge of this operation. And now we know by this letter that they were called actually the Grand Army of the Republic. I will put that letter in the description section, but it's imperative for me it was imperative to bring that to you today because I've been talking about motu proprio and how we know that the deep state has been taken down. And this is why the people were so vehemently against number 45. He played the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. He played the game and pretended to be a part of them. This is all about the act of war, the 48 laws of power, military strategy to play the game. Create an image of yourself larger than life, court scandal, do whatever you have to do. Make yourself larger than life. Behave as if you're unwise. Make people underestimate you, but really be smarter than they are. And that way you can learn the game, find out what they're up to, and then bam, when they're not expecting it, you're supposed to crash them, crush them. And that's what we see, family, going on behind the scenes. Okay, this is what's been going on behind the scenes. And this is something you can also find, not this letter, but you can find at the documents.info. I'll put that in the description category too, was something that former military Army man or vet Derek, D-E-R-E-K Johnson told us about recently when he blew up on social media saying there's a covert military operation going on. You all need to understand that Donald Trump is still president, that his powers were extended because we are at war. So when you keep hearing all this talk, we're going to have a World War III. Oh my God, this is the end of the world. No, we're already in the war, but we're at the end of it. We're at the end of the Federal Reserve banking system. That's why all the exporting nations have dropped the United States dollar, rejected it, and returned to the gold standard. So family, this is good news. You know that Saudi Arabia, the BRICS nations, India and Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, Egypt, and many, many countries already dropped the United States dollar and decided to return to the gold standard, as well as in the States, there are 12, now 13 states that have made precious metals, silver and gold, legal tender. So family, I just wanted to encourage your heart and your soul to let you know that I've been knowing about this letter, motu proprio, sent to Obama via Pope Francis for many years because I got it from the Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey. You can find him and some of his intel at the official House of Reawakening Minds. He is hosted by Dr. Gilliam. They have a show on, I think it's several days a week, where they will be letting you know what's going on with the Moors, what's going on with the deep state, what's going on with the military, and just to let you know some things that are going on behind the scenes. Additionally, I would encourage you to look at the documents.info, or you can go to DerekJohnsonCountry.com and you can listen to former military man Derek Johnson talk about what has been going on behind the scenes. Now, they have been trying to censor him, and they have taken down some of his documents that he released, and they've also tried to take down some of his intel. But again, you can go to the documents.income and find those documents that he has left for us. So family, I hope you will stay encouraged and know that this is all really going on. We are at war, but the war is coming to an end. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've given you some very pertinent information so you can know what's going on behind the scenes. I love you. I hope this has raised your vibrations and encouraged your soul. Keep my family in prayer as you listen to this outro. Peace.